at all. It doesn't matter in the slightest. Yeah. Anyway, because it's like last week's show, I did upload it to YouTube. We got 6 views. Who the hell cares? I mean, really, man. I try hard to try to make this all professional and do things, but it's like nobody cares.
The week before last was our best one, with the one with no plans at all.
Whatever. But now we don't even have the lights. I decided not to use the microphone. I said, you know what? It's okay.
Oh, are we on?
Yeah, I know it's on. It's on. Sit down. We're on.
Okay, we're here.
Am I on screen right now?
Let me see.
That's the one thing I tend not to be.
Yes, I'm going to move this back a little.
Do it. I know. Like,
so
usually we're much more... Well, you pressed a button on it. Don't press those buttons.
All right, I was just trying to... All right, here we go. You're on camera, right up to your arm.
Okay, good.
Now you're off camera. Now you're on camera.
Good. Are we ready to sit down and do this?
We're ready.
Jeez. Ridiculous.
I know you're still a little carryover from the death of Prince Philip. I know you're still a little miffed.
Yeah.
Your meeting with him was Tuesday. If you had not canceled this
I had to look him up. I had no idea who he was. And I was like, I guess the Queen was married. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, no idea. Right. She had like 6 children or something, or 4. At least 4.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that's right. I know.
And
yeah, she dropped 2 at a workhouse.
You know that they were related, the King and the Queen. They had the same great-grandmother.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
But of course, that was the rule.
It's European royalty.
Yeah,
like, they're all related somehow.
Yeah.
It's just how it works. I mean, I've read The Elders of Zion, and I know all about this.
And that's why they're always so attractive.
Really? They are. There was a story of one royalty person this week who actually was attractive. This Prince of Jordan.
Inbred, maybe?
No.
In Jordan, where they have 800 wives, and the wives don't have to be...
Yeah, he made the news.
The wives don't have to be related.
Did you see this guy? He made the news this week, and
who did he kill?
No, nobody. He looks Prince of Jordan. Yeah, I guess you haven't, but I mean, he's a very sort of dashing man. It's like he's like a movie star playing a Prince of Jordan.
But I think when the kings in the Mideast marry, they don't have to marry their sister.
Yeah, here's what it looks like. It looks like an actor.
That's a handsome guy.
Yeah. I mean, he's not young, maybe, but like
yeah.
Yeah, there's the same photograph.
Yeah, he's not deformed or anything.
He's not deformed, but he looks like he could honestly just be an actor, or some kind of
playing the prince.
Yeah, playing the prince, exactly.
Yeah.
Or like some kind of model or something. Yeah. But supposedly he just murders people and cuts off their hands.
Yeah.
He's
they have other problems, but it's not looks.
Yeah. He's a very good looking.
Dear
Lord. So I have an idea of what to do for the next couple shows.
Yes.
And it's in this box, and you have seen the contents.
Okay, I have not seen the contents.
So, what did Amazon used to do back in the day?
Books.
That's right.
Books.
So, I want to do a book club, and we're going to be reading a book, and we'll be talking about it. And so I've got a lot of books here to choose from, and there's different angles of how you want to do them.
All right.
And so we're going to go over the books, and then you have to choose one tonight. And then we're going to buy a second copy.
And we're going to read them?
And we're going to read them.
But let's pick one I've already read. Because this is a lot of work.
Well, no. We'll make it modest.
I have reading glasses and everything.
So, the first one is by Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Famous book. Have you read it?
This is a famous book. I have not read it. Okay. It's not that famous that I've read it.
Right. But, it's a famous sort of self-help book. All right. So that's one of them. The next one is The Goggle Years by John Brooks, a very famous book about the 60s.
Oh, this sounds interesting.
Mm-hmm. But it was written in the 70s.
Oh.
So
but it's about the 60s on Wall Street, not the 60s.
Oh, yes. It's about the Goggle Years.
It used to be owned by a Mr. S.J. Lemon.
Right.
Who bought it October 23rd, 1973.
I'm quite sure that when you go to Goodwill, you're just buying dead people's books.
Yeah. somebody's grandpa's.
Yeah, it's like how on Saturday they have clothes outside of the hospital, and they all look like old people's clothes because people went in on them and they didn't leave. Now, I don't believe in ghosts, but those clothes are haunted. Like, those are haunted garments. Okay, so
if you've ever had a dead relative, you know where all this stuff is coming from.
So the Goggle Years...
because the landlord doesn't give you the deposit back until you take the crap out of the apartment. Let me tell you that. Let me tell you the only reason I've ever... All right,
so
carry on.
Here's something about the 70s, but it's written more recently. This is a very well-regarded book. It's called Nixonland by Perlstein. He wrote 4 of these books, kind of... there's a Reaganland... There's a... No. He's a historian. So he's discussing basically Nixon's rise to power in the 60s, what caused it, the different political dynamics. It seemed to be like a very well-regarded historical...
Very dense tone.
Right, okay, so that's one of them. We have a lot of ones that are themed around this era. So this was popular at the time. It's got Richard Nixon in front of it. This is Charles Reich's The Greening of America, which is about the green movement and sort of like this kind of Ralph Nader and how like what the future holds, but it's like 1970 what the future holds. Okay. Right. So
and here we are 50 years later.
Yeah, not shit hasn't happened.
Correct.
So we got a few other things. Let's go to 1962.
Oh.
This is by Philip K. Dick, The Man in the High Castle.
Oh, okay. Well, let's do this.
There was there's Netflix.
Yeah. There's a series, yes.
Series on it, yeah.
Is it Netflix or Amazon?
It's one of them. It's Amazon. It's Amazon, right?
Yeah.
Right. So this one is an alternative history, assuming that Hitler had won World War II. And it's very Philip K. Dick in that, like, the guy realizes he's in a novel and all this crazy stuff happens. Okay, so this is done after World War II. This was done before World War II over here. This is by Sinclair Lewis. It can't happen here. It was written in the 1930s, and it basically it's an alternative history or a fiction novel about how some kind of like Charles Kaufman style character rises to power and then takes over, and defeats Roosevelt and then marches ourselves into fascism in the 1930s. So a famous book. That's another one. We have to choose one of these, by the way.
All right. But you seem to have a lot here. So.
Well, because there's different takes.
Yeah. No.
So we're gonna. Okay. So let's go back to the 60s. A guy named Albert Camus, who wrote a famous book called The Stranger, wrote another book, in his sort of post-war depression style called The Plague.
Oh.
And it's about a group. It's about a population of people that were.
This is a very famous book.
Very famous book about a plague on an island, and there's different sections to it, and so that's another famous novel. If you like The Stranger, or I using the word "like" is kind of strange.
Yeah.
If you were able to read The Stranger, then maybe this one. Okay, so we got 4 more.
All right.
Next one. Speaking of the plague, this would be the opposite of the plague. This is Thomas Malthus, an essay on the principle of population. This is the guy that did Malthusian, where people say population is the problem. This was the original sort of guy that started, that led to eugenicism. He said, population of all these poor people are growing exponentially. Well, the food's only going geometrically. We need to, and all the sort of, the bad side of birth control and all. And the Margaret Sanger style, and also this led to the guy that wrote the Bell Curve, really sort of Charles Murray. Yeah. He's like the modern version of Thomas Malthus. Really, total bastard, really hateful guy. But this is where we're starting in 17 minutes. So that's one.
Book club.
Dictator's Handbook.
Dictator's Handbook.
You
have a copy of this by your bed.
Oh yeah, so this is basically how people rise to the point of dictators, how they are able to maintain it, and it's actually a really well regarded book. It's a more modern one. It's a political book. This is so along with this and The Plague and It Can't Happen Here and A Man in the High Castle. I don't know if you've been noticing a theme coming on.
That's right.
And the theme is covered in something called Naomi Klein's shock doctrine, which is that you never let a crisis go to waste, right? And so she kind of discusses how that policy and how that process works, and how people in power use windows of opportunity from crises in order to change society in their interests.
Yes.
Right? And when they do that, they fuck up. As you can see in Robert Schiller's Irrational Exuberance, which was written in about 2005, 2006, about how sort of people end up, what is it? The market will remain rational, longer than you can remain solvent, right? About how even the most sort of steadfast and rational people can end up being caught into a frenzy. The Madness of the Crowds is a famous book about this from the 1850s, but this one is an economic text from about 2005 on it. The Madness of the Crowd was a guy named Murray, but that's a big book, and it's from the 1850s, and it's long, and I did not bring it over. I didn't want to make that as a book club. The other thing about all of these books is that I think that all of these could be fun in different ways, if you will, and you could talk about these. Well, I should say I've got hundreds of books.
Yeah.
Right? I've got lots of them. I'm a big reader, but these are ones that I thought that you wouldn't have to have anybody else read it in order to understand it.
In order to talk about it.
Right, in order to talk about it. And it's something that I think that you and I would be able to agree upon. Some of these, we would say, wow, these people are so full of shit, right?
Yeah.
Like if we were to read Future Shock about Toffler, right? Which I think is...
I did read Future Shock.
Oh, it's a terrible book, right? It's awful.
That was I read that in school.
Right?
It was an assignment.
It was basically NIMBYism for 800 pages.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. But he's not interesting enough to read that long, right?
Yeah.
I was trying to get something that these books go
I
fast.
still have
short.
the copy.
Oh, yeah. Well, good luck with that one. Right. You're expecting a lot more from a book called Future Shock.
Yeah,
Never did a book by its cover. That one looked interesting, and it wasn't.
More insight that I agree with instead of insight I disagree with.
Yeah. And it wasn't insight. It's basically just somebody doing superficial whining for a long time. It was no good. I don't know why it was so famous. Anyway. And maybe it's so famous because people like the whining. Go ahead and choose that wine. So, do you have any thoughts?
Well, if we're just going to be, I think we should avoid the ones we're just going to be making fun of, because it's not as much fun for our hundreds of thousands of viewers if we're talking about a bad book they haven't read, as if we're talking about a good book they haven't read. So I think we should go with a good book.
We could go from 6 viewers down to 2. It'd be
I
insane.
think we should.
But
we should go with The Plague.
When I see 6,
which is at least fictitious.
Oh yeah. Oh great. So Albert Camus' The Plague.
Which is because it's not opinion.
That's not opinion. It's not that big.
No.
So then I guess we'll have to use some of our vast funds.
I may have a copy of it.
You may not have a copy of it.
But my books aren't in order, so it might be faster to order another one.
Well, I wonder how much it costs.
To find the one I have. I bet they're $1.
Okay, no. If it was eBay, would be the place to get it, and I bet you that these things will only be about $4 because you have to cover shipping.
$4, right, including shipping. But it's book rate.
What?
Book rate.
Yeah.
Which is 10 cents a pound.
Yeah, and it's a big book, and it's one of the ones that people have to read in school, and whenever you get those things, then they're super cheap, right?
Yeah.
So
because every student is selling it,
right,
even before they've read it.
Right. And you get pristine
there's
copies.
Introduction in this copy. There's 4 introductions before you get to the book.
I know it's not very long. So it looks like that.
And I think the cover has to be Scotch tape back on.
Oh my goodness! You just broke my book.
Yeah, broke the book.
It's like breaking the bank, maybe. I'm looking right now. Maybe it turns out that the plague is something that people.
That's right. They're selling a book about the coronavirus.
Right. Is that? Well, I'm trying to. No. New shipping plus lowest first. Where are you going?
I was going to go get my copy, but I don't think I'll.
Oh, you're going off screen. You know, there's nothing over there. It's just a soundstage. We'd have to expose that this is all fake.
There's not even a house.
That's right. Yeah.
It's just a set.
It
And
is.
there's no dining room over here. Either.
Yeah. We're not in West Hollywood. This is all in Sony. Yeah. This is just a green screen behind us, just like Joe Biden had.
This is the same soundstage that they filmed the moon landing on. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's a plaque outside the studio door.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Who directed it? Was it Kubrick, really?
No, it was Hitchcock.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you knew. Yeah.
No.
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't.
Hitchcock directed the movie. Yeah. He needed the money, not because he was bringing anything to it. He wanted to.
Well, based on I've seen the moon landing, and that does look like late Hitchcock.
Yeah.
He was pretty bad. Like they were on a family plot or frenzy.
Yeah, when he was trying too hard to be tongue in cheek and funny.
Right.
Like someone would land on the moon. You know.
Right, and they had like jokes like somebody golfing on the moon, and it wasn't humorous. Like like he's just
About how rich the guys playing the astronauts were, that they would know how to play golf and they would take their golf clubs with them.
I don't know. He just he wasn't the man that wasn't there, the man who knew too much.
Yeah.
That Hitchcock was gone.
The earlier, funnier Hitchcock.
Right. Yeah. Everything after Rope.
Rope was just a gimmick.
Yeah, I know.
Not much of a. It was a play.
Yeah. Hitchcock had a lot of bad movies. Yeah. There's some people out there that just made a lot of movies, and some of them weren't very good. People are like, what are you talking about, Hitchcock? Birds and Psycho, and what else?
Yeah.
He made like 84. It's not like the Billy Wilder.
Yeah.
There's some like no, not that guy.
He did
Billy Wilder or something. Yeah, but in like
his ones at the end were terrible too.
Right, but he also did a bunch of noir movies.
Yeah.
That were really funny really great. I think he did like Monkey's Talking, right?
No, that wasn't Billy Wilder.
No, there's John Huston.
John Huston, probably.
Yeah, John Huston's another one where like, I don't think I've seen one that I didn't like. Yeah, so there's a few big ones out there, but for some reason like I don't like their names haven't really stuck except if you're like a nerd.
In some directors, the movies that came out at the time weren't reviewed well, and people didn't like them. And then you look back and you go, "This is great." Or that was a book.
Oh
but
shit!
He didn't direct until the '50s, until he was living in Argentina.
Didn't Riefenstahl do a movie based on that though?
No, but you look back on like some of Coppola's movies in the like '80s were reviewed very well, and you go back and you look at it and you say it's pretty good. On the other hand, some of Hitchcock's stuff is terrible.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Why do you think?
Not because of the direction, but I think the material was not there. In some of his mid movies, Family Plot. Maybe if it had been an outright comedy.
No, I think that he was just a bad trend follower. To be quite honest with you, which is yeah. So let's look at Psycho or Birds. So those are the two big ones.
Yeah.
But like, Psycho came out in 1960.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I didn't think there were like low budget slasher films in the 50s. Yeah, that was brand new by 1960, right? Like there weren't thousands and thousands of them. I mean, the only thing that he did was that he was like, okay, we're gonna do a crappy movie, but I'm gonna put like a big name on it, right?
I don't think they were big names at the time.
But
he
Hitchcock
was the big name.
That's what I'm saying. Hitchcock was.
Yeah.
It'd be like if Steven Spielberg like put out a porno.
And then he had that thing at the end where he explained it. There's like after the movie's over, the doctors are explaining what happened. Like
Yeah.
it's an episode of Perry Mason.
Yeah.
The big joke back at the office after the trial.
Yeah. Or you know, and then by the time you get to birds, it's just like, yeah, like, okay, again, that's another sort of like cheesy sort of sci-fi thing. Oh, the birds are attacking us. You know, it's just like, come on.
That was innovative, but
No, it wasn't.
But it was not. When you watch it the second time, it doesn't hold up the way it.
See,
It's just a thing that hadn't been done.
I'm gonna, well, kind of, but there was like, you know, movies about like a slime that would then like, you know, come and kill us all, or another one, you know, about, oh, I don't know, like
Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah, all of these types of monster in movies and these, you know, and oh, it's that thing right next door, you know, some stuff that comes out of the ground and
Incredible shrinking woman.
Right, and so all it was
the 30-foot Bride of Candy Rock.
It was chintzy movies from the 50s, but you had the name Hitchcock after it, and that's it. That's all it was. And people act like it was, no, it's just the same crap. Now, one family friends with Hitchcocks, so.
Oh, that's
They're
right.
very
I forgot
nice.
you're like.
They're lovely, wonderful people.
Pat.
His
daughter, Pat.
They're wonderful people, okay?
She's not watching.
They're great. But, when we're talking about his cinema...
Have you been to the Hitchcock screening room?
Yeah, of course. At USC?
No, I meant at his house.
Oh.
At Pat's house.
I mean, no. I've been at Pat's house, but
She didn't take you to the secret room.
no, she's an old woman. She's very nice. No, it's fine. Okay. Then again, this was 20-something years ago, right?
Now she's a really old woman.
She was old then. Yeah. No, they're wonderful people. I've got nothing bad to say about them. Now the Van Dykes. No, they're also nice.
Still alive, Dick Van Dyke.
Also nice people. Yeah.
And so I baked again in honor of today's show.
Great, fantastic.
Yes.
Let's just try this.
You try it first because I'm not. Here we go.
Okay.
Alright. It's sesame seed cake.
Oh, wonderful.
So, what else are you allergic to? Because I can make that next week.
Well, this is coconut pie. No cocoa, no nuts. What's wrong with this?
How is it he didn't do that joke?
Do it next week. What?
No cocoa, no nuts.
He's the only person that's watching it. The only person that watches this is Jerry Seinfeld. And these people are great. Oh, this new material.
That's pretty good.
It was very lovely. Thank you so much. I had ice cream earlier today. I'm glad I'm becoming a fat guy again. Good.
Remember that week you gave up sugar?
Week?
How long did you give up sugar for?
An hour maybe?
Yeah.
I mean, no.
And you got cranky during that time.
But that's, I'm always cranky. That's who I am.
While Chris is in the kitchen, we're...
Do I need to leave you two alone?
No.
No, I'm so cranky though. I've gone into a vintage Model T and it just started right up. Didn't have to do anything. Okay. What was I going to say? What I gave up was added sugar.
Oh, added sugar.
Yeah.
Well, I added plenty to this.
Yeah.
Right, so you were still eating fruit.
Oh yeah. I was trying to do that. I was just trying to give up things that had sugar listed on the
Like
ingredients.
cookies.
Yeah, but
Kool-Aid.
didn't really go that far.
Did you give up Kool-Aid?
No. But I did give up cyanide. Okay. Well, that's all I had to do. So we're going to read the play. You're going to see if you have a copy, and if you don't, I just checked $4 on eBay.
All right.
So do that. And set a goal for next week.
Well, first we have to get the book.
Well,
So,
no, I'm going to say. So, here's the table of contents. So there's 5 parts. Let's just do part 1. It's 50 pages.
okay.
Can you do that?
Yeah.
And then we're just going to pull out 5 weeks of content from this. No, it's impossible. Do you like Albert Camus?
Yeah, well, I only read one other book.
Mm-hmm. You know, there's an Onion headline where they were doing like Onion headlines from the past, and it says Camus calls success of the first book meaningless, absurd. Yeah.
I had a neighbor once that had a cat named Camus.
Oh, really? Do you think it had anything to do with the author?
Probably not.
There you go. Is Albert Camus still
Alive? I doubt it.
No. He didn't die since the 70s, I think. Still an author that people know?
I don't think so. I'm not sure people knew him then.
Really?
Not mainstream. He was never mainstream, right?
I mean, he had some very successful books, or as you say, some very well-regarded books.
Yeah.
I don't know if...
I don't think they were bestsellers.
Yeah, well, let's see. No, he died young. He died in 1957 at the age of 44.
Of what?
Let's see.
Alcohol poisoning, I bet. It's always alcohol poisoning.
Yeah, I don't know.
Except for plane crash.
Extreme blowjobs. No, let's see. He died in France. He was born in Algeria.
Foreigner.
Sounds like a bad life. Yeah. Life? Barbiturates? I don't know. Come on.
No, authors die of alcoholism.
Yeah, I know, but he was special.
The young
Car accident.
Car accident, really?
Mm-hmm.
And who was driving?
It crashed into a tree.
Oh.
He was a passenger seat and not wearing a safety belt.
Did they exist then?
And he was, his publisher was the one driving. There has been speculation that Camus was assassinated by KGB because of his criticism of Soviet abuses.
In Russia, authors assassinate you! That doesn't make sense.
144 pages of the handwritten manuscript entitled The First Man Was Found in the Wreckage.
Well, if he had been driving instead of texting.
Is it right in the book?
It was in a, yeah. He was typing. He had a typewriter on the steering wheel.
Yeah, he was authoring a novel as he was driving.
When I was in high school...
William Faulkner wrote his obituary.
You wrote his own?
No, William Faulkner wrote Albert Camus' obituary.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, for the London Daily. When Prince Philip died this morning, he died, and a minute later, the 50-page obituaries were...
Right, but it's been prepared for 20 years.
For 75 years.
Mm-hmm, right.
When I was in high school, there was a horrific school bus crash near me of a school bus driver trying to beat the train across some tracks.
Was there kids inside?
Oh, yeah, kids were killed. And, maimed. It was just horrible. And as kids do...
What's the horrible part?
Well, I'll tell you the horrible part. As kids do, he became famous. He was tried for murder. I don't know.
He survived?
The bus driver survived. And he was tried for murder. Every kid didn't die. Only 8 died.
Only the weaker.
Yeah, only the weakest kids. And, he was trying to beat the bus across. And he was in the paper all the time. Halfway. Half the kids made it. He was in the paper all the time, so everybody knew his name. And as kids do, and maybe I was in 6th or 7th grade or 5th grade or something like that, and his name became a punchline among kids. Who do you think you are? Whatever his name was, John Larkin. It was just the funniest thing we have. Meanwhile, friends of some people had been killed in this bus crash. but the bus driver's name was still
I'm gonna get that name.
hilarious.
New York. This is probably still famous enough.
Yeah, I'm sure it's on there somewhere.
Bus.
Maybe I was in 4th grade or something.
Train. like, here's the thing, is that he said, maybe I was in 6th grade, like, let me go look it up. Actually, maybe I was 2 years old.
Yeah, no, because it was for some reason I think the guy's last name was Larkin, and so that might help your search terms. And it was a school bus.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. School bus and train collision, December 1935. There it is.
No, 72. Oh, it is. I got it right. Joseph Larkin.
Oh, nice. Joseph Larkin.
He was driving.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Congers, New York.
Yeah, that's the Jersey side.
Okay. By
25 miles north of New York City. 5 students were killed and 44 others were injured. But he lived. Ah, hilarious. Just as funny now.
Oh, man. That's why you always hitchhike to school, right? You always thumbed it. It's pre-Uber. Oh.
Thinking of that, I'm wondering if that, I mean, it was funny to me, but for parents the next morning, putting their kids on the school bus, probably in the same, what was the town? Nyack? Was it Nyack or Valley Cottage? The next morning, kids had to put their parents had to put their kids on the bus to Nyack High School.
So basically,
yeah,
like 80% of the parents were like, all like this, and all nervous. And 20% of them
say, get on that bus.
Yeah, we're dropping up and clicking their heels. Just preparing the arrangements, picking out the coffins, just because we were all 14 once we know it's like. Oh man. This is pre-Roe v. Wade, so it's
But his name became a punchline. Oh, he's probably still alive. Probably still driving a bus.
Yeah, it'd be so funny if you look at him and like he spent the past 50 years trying to make amends for this terrible thing,
and now he's tuning into Instagram.
And he's like, I have spent half a century trying to write off this terrible thing I've done.
Yeah.
And these people are making fun of me. Can you believe it? I haven't done enough. He's there in his convalescent home.
45 years later, there isn't anyone alive that remembers 45 years ago.
And maybe we should do that. We should just like
let's dredge up some other things that people thought they got away with before we were born.
Well, there's something called ProQuest, which is an archive of newspapers.
Yeah.
And normally you have to pay for it, but do you have a library card?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have Apple? Like the public library?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so you can use your public library card and get...
Online?
Yeah. And get ProQuest archives of, like, New York Times and LA Times and a bunch of other things that go, going back as far as you want.
Yeah.
And you get pictures and everything. So we could do that. We could like, just decide, let's just take August 1st.
Right. 1963.
Sure.
And see if somebody that did something embarrassing
right.
is still alive.
And it said,
write to them.
August 1st, 1963, President's Bill of Health, we'll live 40 years. Nothing can stop JFK. Yeah. Visiting fans in Houston next week. I know it's November. What?
JFK, that was 63, so that's 58 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He was like 43. It's
not
possible for him to still be alive.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Right? I mean, Carter's still alive, right?
Yeah, Carter's not. Well, and Prince Philip is... Oh, no.
No, I mean, there's probably still. Well, I was looking that up a while back. I don't know. I have to go check it out. But they have a list of appointed judges on Wikipedia, and they have the president that appointed them.
Oh, and some of them are Hoover?
It's something like that. Yeah, it's crazy, you know. And then it also has, list of all the cabinet members of the different presidents and when they died.
And is someone still alive? I would bet there's somebody still alive from the Kennedy.
I think there was.
Because it wasn't quite 60 years ago, and you could have been 30 something.
It was like Secretary of Secret Wars or something. It was a Cold War era, so different.
Well, like Secretary of War. That's what they used to call it.
No, there was like 7 or 8 of them, right?
Yeah.
Secretary of Wars in the Middle East, of Wars in Central America.
Very difficult job.
Wars for the banana companies. Okay, so that's about it. I wanted to have a shorter episode. No, we got plenty of time, I'm sure. But the 36 minutes, that would be one of our shorter ones. Anything else?
Well, let's see. What else happened? DMX died. That's a surprise. People died this week.
Yeah, I had a busy morning. No, we've been laughing about that for the past half an hour now.
Including kids in the school bus. It was the funniest.
Yeah, that means you're going to have apnea tonight when you go to bed, and when you're off the soundstage, over in the corner, in the little cot that you sleep in.
When I drive home.
You drive home, exactly. And I'm going to die in a car crash. Because this is how the world works. This is the way the world works. And people are like, they knew about it, look!
Like when they played John Lennon's last interview that he'd done the day before on the Tom Snyder show. Tom Snyder, by the way, dead. It was.
I didn't know this.
What? Yeah, I think he had done. Unless they just played it then, but I think he had just done a Tom Snyder. Well, he was living in New York. He was 40 years old. It's not like he was, an old man or sick.
No, it's true.
Yeah,
it's true. There's this funny thing is that Alex Jones, he spews off so much unfounded nonsense.
Yes.
But it would be kind of like if somebody sat around and said lottery numbers tomorrow, and lottery numbers are 5 numbers, and then they said 500 numbers, and then somebody said said and cropped them 44, 36, 12, 5. Look, they predicted it right, and that's basically what happens to Alex Jones, is that people will like find stuff, blah blah blah, blah.
He got
from like 2005, and then he'd say something like, maybe Donald Trump was going to run for president, and I think that he'd win, it doesn't matter what party, and that was it, and then he'd never mention that again. He said, I was right back then. And he's
Alex Jones, if Trump was still president, Alex Jones would probably get a presidential medal of freedom as well.
I'm going to win 2024. Yeah. That's my Alex Jones. Wouldn't it be funny if that was just a voice? And, he doesn't.
It doesn't sound like that.
It doesn't sound like that.
Yeah. No, he's mentally ill. So.
He's like LaFontaine. What? Those people that have like the famous announcer voices. Do they actually sound like that?
I don't know. You mean like in a world where?
There's
LaFontaine.
Yeah, there's only like 5 or 6.
Yeah, there's a new guy that he did all of them, and when he died, someone else started to do them.
Mm-hmm. I was trying to think of one earlier this week because I'm reading this book by Alreese and Jack Trout. It's called Positioning. It's a they have let me get it for you so I can show you what I mean. We have time, and people only watch the first 5 minutes anyway. So.
Chris is driving home to get a book. He'll be back in a minute. I'm sure this will all be edited out. Wait, I hear something. Oh, you're back so soon.
So, they wrote a bunch of marketing books together, and this one was written in 1981 or so. And when I read it, there's this voice that comes in my head narrating it, and it's basically this like '80s commercial voice of, and it's like a businessman voice. It'd be like, but I can't find the names. It'd be like, 3 out of 4 businessmen like to prefer Delta first class over the, and it's like
George Fenneman.
Is that the name? But he, and it's only like this sort of like higher end sort of like a smart person, smart people buy a Mercedes or whatever, right? Yeah. And I read this thing, and let me show you one of the examples of it. And because there's perfect sort of sentence. Oh, so he's talking about how there's a lot of brands. Take cigarettes. There are more than 175 brands in the market today. A vending machine built to hold all these brands might be 30 feet long. Take drugs. There are some 100,000 prescription drugs in the U.S. market. And I just read this thing, and like it all, there's this cadence and this kind of like deep announcer voice that comes to my mind just reading back at me the entire time. And I was looking for that voice online, trying to figure out who the person's name was that I'm thinking of. Because it's like only associated with like late 70s, early 80s kind of thing. And maybe it's their writing style that it's just like very much in that vein, and it's like it's not something that you'd ever mistake for outside of that. It's very contemporary, but they're also insightful and a wonderful read. I've got nothing bad to say about Maurice and Jack Trout. I've read many of their books.
Funny men.
No. I mean, it's kind of funny that one of them is a Trout, and whenever I see that, I think about Kilgore Trout, which was the guy that was the fake author that was constantly referenced in books by Kurt Vonnegut.
Oh,
I got it.
Oh, I didn't know.
I got it. Future me. No hints. Yeah, Kilgore Trout. Yeah, it's one of the recurring characters
in Vonnegut's work.
Yeah, he brings, like, sometimes when you, there's this theory about like some of these older writers, how you read them and then you'd be like, why are they spending 3 pages on this like one topic? And it's because it was entertaining, right? And so like people would read just for enjoyment. It's like long form journalism, like The Atlantic, right? And I hate that stuff because it's stuff like okay. So here's how the Atlantic articles go. It'd be something that's like really intriguing as they start out, and it's something like I don't know, like can this man's new contraption see into the past or something like that, and you're like, oh, that's fascinating, and then they open up like some kind of a crazy physicist in Harvard, and they're like, I want to read this thing. But then they start off like, it was a whiskey Tuesday afternoon, and I was walking down, the sidewalk, and my dog decided to bark at a tree over here, and they go on and talk about the guy's carpet, and and what his shoes were like, and then you're like, get to the point, like he just did this thing, like is it like just tell me the freaking it doesn't. It's like hundreds of words, and then you find out, okay, no, he cannot see into the past. Okay, done. Like it doesn't deliver for me. Long form journalism, it doesn't, and I think it's because they aren't great writers. I learned this when I was doing my other podcast about about a year ago now, is that I had presumed, there are great writers and there are great actors, but average people are okay. That is wrong. That is so wrong. Average people are terrible writers and terrible actors. Yes. They're terrible at both. It's disgusting we have actors. And you ask a person who's sort of like, I'm going to give you a script right here, can you maybe act this out? And they're so far off. And I don't mean like they're sitting here saying, you know, like to be or not to be, like that would be fine. But but they're like saying, oh, to be or not to be, that is the question. And
choices.
Like the really bizarre, like you know, like why do you like what tells you that that's how you're supposed to act right here? And then, you know, once they stop, like, oh, so how was that? You know, and they're like, you're not like that. Why did you do that? And then you have to give like exhaustive stage direction, saying like, no, okay, let's sit back, like when you say to be or not to be, what's the character trying to think right now? You gotta go over everything, right? Or you look at like writers, right? And these people that, you know, do self-published novels or whatever, or like, you're like, oh, these might be interesting, and they aren't.
That's usually, yeah.
It's like
not self-published.
Pages and pages of action and sort of narrative that's hard to follow, and doesn't really have any insight or purpose, and you're not invested into the characters at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like they'll mention one thing, but then never mention it again. Like you know, they don't do Chekhov's gun. They don't really connect the parts of it together. And they have too many characters, but they're not differentiable. They're all the same, but you know, and they don't really follow archetypes.
Everybody sounds the same.
The people sound the same. You don't know what the motivations are, you know. And I'm like,
they don't trust the audience to have information.
oh, that's it. Yeah. They'll explain everything in tedious detail, and not only that, but then they'll like mention something without the proper context, and then they'll be like, you know, oh, I don't know, and then you have to piece it together, like, oh, that was his wife. Like, you didn't tell me that was his wife. Like, I've been reading.
Tell me a bunch of other stuff I don't need to know.
Exactly, but the important part isn't there, and it's just like this is like the average writer. It's like the average person. And I expect so much more from humanity.
No, you're over expecting.
I think so. So sad. There's this survey that was done about how interested people would be in time travel. It turns out the older you are, the less interested you are, because the more cynical you are about humanity, and the people basically, when they're 85 years old, like, oh, what's the use? Yeah. They're just gonna mess up another way. Like, oh, we call Hitler. Okay, fine. There's gonna be like Hapster, like another guy that comes up and just does the same thing. Who cares? You know, and like the older you get, like the less you care. You know, and so I don't know. That's hope you have. It's a weird thing. So, you tried being an actor? You tried being a writer? Are you good at either? Do you think?
Well, I made a lot of money being a writer.
That's right. Well, okay. There's one thing I wanted to talk. We'll go on this thing. Is that it turns out that Saddam Hussein was a writer. Something I found out.
Who was
Saddam Hussein? Something I found out, and I've been mentioning it like all week, and I should stop.
Maybe then maybe I should be a crazed dictator. Maybe it's hand in hand. I do all right as a writer.
No, you don't get this part. Yeah. So, here's what happened. Saddam Hussein always wanted to be a writer. He was always a reader, right? And basically, one of the things when he became dictator of Iraq is their literacy scores were extremely low. But they went up to 100% because the penalties for not being able to read was like death. It was terrible, right? And so, like, you know, they became a very literate population, which was good, very well educated, I guess, you know. Yeah. Maybe not by those methods. But near the end of his life, he wrote 4 novels.
Well, and one of those.
One of the final things that he did before he went on the run after the invasion was like pen the final page of his draft of his last book, and like you know, give it to somebody. He said, keep this and send it off to the publisher, right? By all accounts, the books are terrible. They're just all unreadable gobbledygook. They're just not good at all. And it's the dynamic here that's very interesting is that you have this guy here who always wanted to be something that he had no talent in. But instead, he was very talented in being a tyrant, a murderous, slaughtering tyrant, right?
The best.
And so it's this like, what do you do in life, right? Well, when you say, oh, my talents are actually in genocide, but what I really want to do is write fiction, and it's like, is there a point in life where you have to admit, for instance, that like I can't do shows because I've been doing this for like a year now and nobody freaking watched. No, our first podcast 2 years ago, right? And it's like, you know, why am I continuing to do this? Obviously, the content's no good because it's like, you know, although I'd like to do it, maybe I'm like Saddam Hussein writing novels, right?
Maybe your real talent is in murder.
No, I think it's just in computer programming and building things, and basically what I do for a living, right? Because I seem to be successful in that. And I've tried my hand at all these other sort of art stuff, but it really never panned out. So maybe I'm just bad at it, you know, and I'm better at these other things. And I think that the advice is do what you enjoy. It's wrong. Instead, it's like do what you're good at that doesn't make you crazy. And if you happen to enjoy it, great. But that's not a, you know.
Are you enjoying it?
Am I enjoying the program?
Yeah.
No.
No.
No, not at all.
No.
I hate it.
Oh.
I really hate it. Yeah. I don't like it at all.
You chose your career.
I used to like it.
Oh, you used to like it.
Things have changed.
What changed?
We're out of time. We can do that another day.
Let's pick it up in the second half of the
I can't explain that.
the plague show.
Yeah, and you know, maybe when it's said to, you know, have microphones and lighting and stuff, we can really sort of talk about
More intimate production.
Yeah, true. But that's it. Old school production. That's all. All right.